Question number 9 is the fulfillment question. Does working toward my dream bring satisfaction? There's always a huge gap between the birth of a dream and the achievement of that dream. The question you have to ask yourself is whether it will be a fulfillment gap or a frustration gap. If it's a frustration gap, you will be miserable most of the days that you're in it. And every day that you are frustrated instead of fulfilled, you lessen the odds that you'll be able to keep moving toward your dream. Seth Godin calls this gap between when you set out to do something and when you actually start to see significant results as the dip. And I have a picture of the dip where we start off and it kind of goes well, and then we begin to decline. And here's what you got to go. You got to go through the dip before you realize your dream. Next paragraph. I would say that the dip represents both the adversity one must face and the learning curve one must overcome to achieve the desired results. So let me give you some thoughts about this issue of tenacity. Number one, and fulfillment of the dream. Number one, fulfilled people understand the difference between the dream and its realization. There's the dream, and then there's a realization of the dream. There's a difference between ideal and actual. Ideals is what could happen if everything was perfect, and actuals is what will happen because everything is not perfect. Again, at the beginning of our dream, what do? We focus on the ideals. As we're in the middle of the dream, we begin to focus on not what is ideal, but what is real. That's part of the dip. Number two, fulfilled people understand the size of the dream determines the size of the gap or the size of the dip. Now, we got to talk about this because this one's important to us. We talk about, was it Jim Collins made famous the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals. You got to have big, hairy, audacious goals. Can I tell you something? If you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, let me tell you what I guarantee will happen. You'll have a big, hairy, audacious gap. Mm-hmm. In fact, can I tell you something? The bigger the goal, the bigger the gap. That's just the way it works. So if you're really pursuing something amazingly, unbelievably difficult, I just want you to know that the gap between what is and what is ideal, what is and what you want to be is going to be absolutely huge. And it's just it's okay. It's part of the process. And fulfilled people, here's the difference. Fulfilled people, when they're in the middle of their dip, are still fulfilled. Unfulfilled people are frustrated. Number three, fulfilled people appreciate each step in the journey. The twin killers of success are impatience and greed. And they just understand. And they appreciate each step of the journey. A question that I'm often asked is, people come up to me and say, well, I'll bet you're more fulfilled today than you ever have been before. And I always surprise them and say, no, not really. Can I tell you something? I was as fulfilled in Hillham, Indiana on day one when I had 3 people in the church, and 2 of them were Margaret and me. I was as fulfilled that day as I am today. Fulfillment has nothing to do with results. It has everything to do with who you are. I never despised the beginning days of my dream. I never look back and say, boy, am I glad that's over. No. Every dip that I went through, every valley that I went through had something to teach me that if I wouldn't have gone through it, I would not have been the person that I am today. I won't read that thing on John Wooden. It's several paragraphs, but let me just condense it for you because he's been a mentor of mine. I've asked him on a couple of occasions, if you could go back in one day of your life, what would it be? And he said, John, it wouldn't be winning the national championship. He won 10 of those. It wouldn't be holding up the trophies. It wouldn't be tearing down the nets. It wouldn't be all the publicity that comes with it. He said, if I could go back to one day in my amazing career, he said, I'd go back to a day when we were on the basketball court. It's not a game. We're just practicing. He said that's what gave me fulfillment. Not winning the game, not playing the game, but practicing. He said, I realized if we practiced well, we would play well. And I just enjoyed the practice. That's the way it should be with you. It's the way it should be with your business. You just enjoy the process. That's fulfillment. Number 4, fulfilled people make new discoveries while living in the gap. In other words, while they're in that dip and in that gap, they begin to understand and learn things. You have, in your notes, you have the potential to make many wonderful discoveries in the pursuit of your dreams. None will be greater than what you discover about yourself. And I will promise you, you'll discover more about yourself in the dip than you will in the peak. Number 5, fulfilled people buy into the natural law of balance. Life is both good and bad. Optimists tend to think that life is all good, and pessimists think that it's all bad. But reality is neither is right. Life is both. Only people who accept and embrace that truth are able to find fulfillment. Why? Because people who accept it but don't embrace it become apathetic, meeting every difficulty with a shrug and a sigh. They may survive, but they will not be successful. To reach a dream and to be fulfilled in the process, one needs to be proactive in bad times as well as good. Here we go. Here's the important part right here. One of the things I've observed about successful people over the years is that they do what is right no matter how they feel, and by doing right, they feel good. On the other hand, unsuccessful people wait to feel good before they do what is right, and as a result, they neither do what is right nor feel good. Question number 10. This is the last question. You're about to finish the dream test. How you doing? Great. Doing okay? You only got one more question, huh? Not going to give up now, are you, huh? Going to finish off.